Hello darlings, welcome to the channel. My name is ReettaJ and this is Higurashi When They Cry. In the previous episode we had a bit of an incident with our dear friend Rena here. But then it was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me and I slumped onto the ground. And Rena doesn't give a fuck. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight. Who was that? I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and asked myself once again, who was that person who looked like Rena Ryugu? But who wasn't Rena at all? Or maybe she was. I was out of it and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head, though those thoughts continued swirling around my mind. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the steps. Keiichi, it's a call from the bookstore. Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway. My apologies for calling so late at night. It's me, Oishi of the Okinomiya bookshop. Oishi-san? Oh, it's Oishi-san. Sorry, since your parents picked up, I said I was from the bookstore. It puts people off when I say I'm a police officer. Oishi-san was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor. Sorry for calling so late. That phone number on the piece of paper I gave you yesterday was the old number. My apologies. Can you copy down the number I'm about to give you? Okay. He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up. So, how has it been, my Bara-san? Did anything strange happen recently? I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed. Are you from around here, Oishi-san? Yeah, I am. Born and raised in Okinomiya. If he's from around here, he might know. Oishi-san, do you know what this onikakushi thing is about? I believe that's when somebody suddenly vanishes because they've been abducted by a demon. It's a special saying from around here. It has the same meaning as spirited away, like everyone else says. Whereas my friend would say they didn't know when I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything. Hinamizawa was, not sure if I should tell you this, my Bara-san. Don't try to play this off. If you're not going to talk, then I'm not going to tell you anything. No, that's not what I meant. It's just, it may make you feel bad. You see, long ago, Hinamizawa was feared as the village where demons reside. Demons? By demons you mean those pitchfork-carrying things in hell? More like human-eating monsters. They'd go down to villages, snatching people up and gobbling them down. That kind of a tale. Demons snatching up people is what this onikakushi really means. They said that the curse and being demoned away happens together. They said that the curse and being demoned away happen together. What does that mean? I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, But I didn't know there were people disappearing for those same 5 years. The curse and being demoned away happened together. First time I've heard of that. Is that how it is, my Barasan? Well, that's what I want to know. I heard Rena and Mion talking. They said that if it was really Oyashiro-sama's curse, then both the curse and the demoning away would happen. Oishi-san began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind. My brother-san, do you know the first incident, the murder by dismemberment? Yeah, one of the 6 perpetrators is still on the run, right? Hypothetically, what if he isn't on the run, but was demoned away? Huh. It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was the particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. They staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off. Then what about the incident next year, when the man who supported the project and his wife both died in an accident? Well, actually, it was only the husband who died in an accident. His wife's body never surfaced. Unless we find the body, then it's considered a missing person by law. At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch of the main stream of the river for dozens of miles, but in the end, they weren't able to find her body. But that's just them not being able to find the body. She's still dead, right? Isn't it different from her being demoned away? We cannot say someone is dead without their body. Until a certain number of years pass, by law, she is treated as still alive. I'm not sure if it was the right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality. How about the 3rd year? The Shinto priest died of illness, and his wife committed suicide? Question mark? My brother-san, that's actually the exact same scenario. The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless marsh deep in the forest around Hinamizawa, meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide note in front of the marsh, and diver was able to recover a few remnants, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere. I'm not sure we could call these cases being demoned away. It's just as you've said, every year one person does go missing. The incident this year, the woman with Tomitake-san has gone missing. Then what about the incident with the housewife beaten to death? Who went missing? I believe the perpetrator was caught, right? Yeah, we arrested him. He was just a miscreant with a record of narcotic abuse. He admitted to the crime while being questioned about different incident. But, well, you see, after he was arrested, a child from the victim's home went missing. It's still under investigation as to whether the disappearance had anything to do with the crime. But you said you caught him, right? Did he have an accomplice? No idea. It's considered a separate case. Moreover, we can't even check now, because while under investigation, that man, he died in his holding cell. He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. Meaning, for the last 5 years, there's always one person who dies and one who goes missing. That's about right. No, actually, I'm surprised as well. I never realized they had that in common. I couldn't believe that this could help lead to the closing of those incidents. It was just something they had in common. Could it be that those demoned away have something in common? Oishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarized the events. The first year was the dam employee, second year was the wife of a dam project supporter, third year was the wife of the Shinto priest, fourth year was the victim's family's child, and the fifth year was the victim's girlfriend, I guess. It doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. With the exception of the first year, wives and girlfriends. Those do stand out. It does seem like there are a lot. Then that means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It would have really stood out if it were all married couples, except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitake-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly. The child that went missing in the fourth year, who were they? Apparently he was quite mature, 1 year older than you. His name was Satoshi Hojo-san. Huh? Satoshi? I remembered that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year? He was at your school up until last year. Didn't they tell you anything about him? Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then, where I sat, once belonged to the one who was demoned away. It was his seat. I recalled the cold sensation that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. The string of mysterious deaths. No, Oyashiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation, it was the feeling of Oyashiro-sama caressing the back of my neck. Oyashiro-sama's curse, huh? Could Oyashiro-sama's curse, how many times am I going to say Oyashiro-sama's curse in this episode, really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it, and I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reach the point where I'd learn something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. My execution would only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. Rena. Rena said she may be the victim next victim of the curse. You mean Rena Ryugu-san? She transferred in last year, and she's your classmate, isn't she? These incidents really might be a bit too disturbing for a girl. She's not just scared, is she? It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it. It felt like she was convinced, almost as if, you could say, she was frightened, her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena, but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me. I see. Then I'll be doing a bit of investigating on this end. Please continue your observations of Ryugu-san, Maibara-san. Are you asking me to keep Rena under surveillance? That's not what I mean, Maibara-san. I just want you to watch out for your friend so she doesn't end up the next victim. At that moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. Koichi, at the door, please. On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. Oh, that was... okay, sorry. What could it be? It's so late. Sorry, my dad just came in. Can we leave it at this for tonight? Yeah, my apologies again for calling so late. If you find out anything, please let me know. I'll tell you if I make any progress on this end. Well then, have a pleasant evening. Kitchi, hurry and open up. Daddy's got his hands full. What is Dad doing? I had stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea. A fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side, everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality. What's going on, Dad? What's all this for? Come now, don't play around, Keiichi. I'm coming in. Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face, but for my entire life I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him? So, what were you talking about? I jumped. It's not something I had to keep from my father, but how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? I'm assuming he was. This late at night. Also, I'm going to put the music down just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. Nothing much. Just a friend. I don't mean the phone. She was here, wasn't she? ReettaJ. Huh? She wasn't here. Come now, don't try to keep it from me. She just came over to play. You two were chatting away, so I thought I'd bring some tea, but looks like I just missed her. I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back. How long were we talking? ReettaJ went upstairs about half after, so it was close to an hour, I guess. You saw her come up to the 2nd floor. Yeah, I did. I also told her that your room was the door down the hall up the stairs. Rana came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the 2nd floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the 2nd floor. She thanked my dad, who went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs, and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. Then, after she came upstairs, and until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All of the ominous things and all the nonsense I spoke to Oishi-san about began rushing through my head. Honey, don't tease him. More importantly, you need to clean up your studio. It's a mess again. My mom yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointing chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the doorway where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now, as I was talking to Oishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away. The whole time. All that time. In this dimly lit hallway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously waved and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. New tips. Notice from the police chief. Let me see. July 1st, 1982, to Departments 1 through 12. XX Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General blah blah blah. To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in Hinamizawa village, notice. As cases in Shinshibane City, Hinamizawa village have been reported by certain sections of mass media, it has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood of some... Oh, Jesus Christ, this was fast. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number X, Hinamizawa village, housewife murdered, dated June, blah blah. Okinawa Station, 1982, case number X, Hinamizawa village, student disappearance. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station, 1978, case number blah, Hinamizawa village, site foreman murdered, date June XX. Shira Station, 1980, case number X, Shira Natural Park falling incident. Okinomiya Station, 1981, case number X, Hinamizawa village Shinto priest's wife's disappearance, dated June, blah blah. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, Express Prefecture Police Headquarters, internal line, blah blah blah. Police Affairs Department, blah 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 blah. Okay, that police notice wasn't really all that interesting, so we will just continue. Weariness and headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. No, it's not. What's wrong? Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt a presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, wouldn't it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Ding dong. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. ReettaJ came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet, take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Good for you. Very good. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came to view. Erie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. "Mabara-san, please make your way to the examination room." After properly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days' worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. It just wasn't for that word.
It must have been an Anikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With who? With that man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well?
Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I could feel my ears perking up.
I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leaving a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes.
So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic. Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and I didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Honk, honk! Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Honk, honk! Mabara-san, good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on a break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up to it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that all right? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. So yeah, let's go have a lunch with a stranger out of town. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me just by the door. Even now, the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. What a big bump that jolted the car. The road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitake-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitake-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. but a drug that could cause such a thing that happens so quickly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Something or other, whatever. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitake-san to react like that. Then you're saying the police concluded Tomitake-san just died from the curse. I couldn't help but feel that police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved the other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa, train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2 please, non-smoking.
This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over.
We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth. So, what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. This shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Am I really? Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. Didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onigafuchi. That's quite the name. The name's still around. The marsh where a Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realms of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems that demons were Zenin or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or Zenin something would be more apt description, thank you. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness. Let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. Well, fairies. The price of curing her son was herself. That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onigafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh. There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But well, there are quite a few other tales where the demons from Onigafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So, what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of a rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they are man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare to speak it. Then Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, my Bara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oshi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So, those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, my Bara-san, I had a bit, really just a bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since she'd told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound stupid, my Bara-san. If you feel that this is stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen on him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonosake-san. Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko, meaning Satoko. Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well, and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see, their daughter is Rika Furude-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year, you all know already, don't you? He was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared in the 4th year, by the way. He was Sadako-san's older brother. Oh, wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I should have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Maebara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion? Satoko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends... It couldn't be, it just couldn't be. Oh, Rena is different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with all the victims at all. Rena Ryugu was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Rena had. I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. Dysautonomia, well, she was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-chan. It shows up, and quite a bit that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. That's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to the residency register that Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa, Rena-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Maebara-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Rena. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Maebara-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. No, there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Maebara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten until today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Boom! That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out in the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? We should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Oishi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. No, I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants, so while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind the incident to light. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years in this job. Maibara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with, that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So, I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again. Or so I was told. This is the pressure I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. This is fine. Is this fine? This is fine. After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So, you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maibara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this to you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I really didn't give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into the cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it, I don't want to die. For some time I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. And this is where we end this episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Thank you so much for watching this. If you liked it, please let me know. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you again next time.